everybody, it's the War Hipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting another Primarch. Yes, we are painting the Lord Imperial Regent himself, Roboute Guilliman. I absolutely love this model. It just represents so many cool things about this hobby for me, especially when he returned in Rise of the Primarch at the tail end of 7th edition. It was very, very exciting. And I absolutely love him. I think he's a fantastic character and a fantastic miniature. And we're going to be painting him up today in a Contrast Plus style. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump in and start painting him. He has been primed in White Scar. And the colour we're going to be using first is Asurmen Blue. And we're going to be applying this over the top of all of Guilliman's blue armour. Now what we're looking to do here is we're not looking to be like 100% neat. But what we do want is we want a nice smooth coat. So we're just going to start applying this like this over the top of all of his armour. Now don't worry if you do get this on any of the bits that are going to be gold or white. That's absolutely fine. We're going to clear those up later. For now, we just want to focus on getting the blue right. And helpfully, because there's so many recesses and so much trim and detail on this model, it's not too difficult to get a nice clean, smooth layer. There's lots of recesses for that contrast paint to run into. So with that Asurmen Blue applied all over all of his blue armour, what we're going to do now is we're going to add a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Ultramarines Blue and Contrast Medium. I'm going to do this over the top of all of the armour. So with that Contrast Medium and Ultramarines Blue mix all applied, what we're going to do now is move on to the next colour. And that is going to be some Black Legion. And we're going to apply this over the top of, there's not many black details on him. What we're looking for is the soft joints in his armour. And that's pretty much it. He does have a body glove that's going on, and you can see it around his neck if you've got the unhelmeted version there, as I do, so don't forget that. But otherwise, that's it. So with that Black Legion all applied, we're now going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. We're going to paint this over the top of all of the gold. Now there is a lot of gold here. We've got all of the trim, which is mostly it, but there is a whole lot of trim here, more than an entire Chaos Space Marines army. So you just want to take your time picking it all out. There's some areas that are going to be white, like the old teamers, which we can leave for now. And don't worry if you get any severe mistakes on the blue, because we can fix those up later, and I'll show you how to do that, because I absolutely will make some mistakes as I'm doing this. Otherwise you just want to take it fairly steady, make your way around the model. And then once that's done, we shall come back. So with all of that Retributor Armour applied, and as I warned you, there is a lot of gold. Well, you already knew this because you own the model. But what we're going to do now is we're going to correct all of our details. And we're going to use Corax White for this rather than White Scar. And this is because we've got some areas that are going to be white, but if we do them up to White Scar, they'll be really bright. And what we want is to just kind of not have them just be that too bright. So we're going to take the Corax White and we're going to use this to just mop up any blue splodges. And then just kind of paint in over the top of all the details. You don't have to do this. You could just go for White Scar, of course, but I'm going to be doing it. So with that done, for the first time in War Hipster channel history, we're going to use Guilliman Flesh on Guilliman. So what we're going to do is we're going to load up our brush and we're going to apply this over the top of his face. And so with that done, we're then going to take some Skeleton Horde. We're going to apply this over the top of all of the paper details. So with that done, we also applied it to his hair. Forgot to mention that. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Sigvald Burgundy and we're going to apply this to all of the wax seals. And with that Sigvald Burgundy all applied, we're then going to take some Flesh Tearers Red. And we're going to apply this over the top of all of the smooth cables. So we've got, for example, one here. Like that. And we're going to apply this Flesh Tearers Red to the soft grip of the Emperor's sword. With that Flesh Tearers Red all applied, we're then going to take some Dark Angels Green and we're going to use this to paint in the laurel. And so with that laurel all painted in, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. I'm going to use this to paint in almost all of our remaining details. We are of course excluding the areas that are going to be white and the sword blade. And so with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Imperial Fist and we're going to apply this over the top of the sword blade and the flames. Don't worry, we're not going to do any blending just yet. It's going to happen, but not just yet. So with that done, our final base coat is going to be some Soulblight Grey. And we're going to apply this over the top of our white Ultimas. So with that done, we've got all of our base coats on Guilliman. So it is now time to add some shades. Now the first one we're going to add is Guilliman Flesh. And we're going to be applying this over the top of all of his gold trim. So with all that Guilliman Flesh applied, we're then going to take some Nuln Oil. I'm going to use this to shade all the silver and the black. And so with that now done, we're then going to apply some Casandora Yellow over the top of the Emperor's sword. And what we want to do is we want to be very careful here. We want to get a nice smooth shading going on. So you don't want to have loads on your brush. You just want to get it all over like that sort of thing. So with that all done, Guilliman is now what I would call a war hipster battle ready, and he's already looking pretty cool. However, we're not going to leave him there. No, we are going to take him to the next level. We're going to be doing this by adding some layers and some highlights. And we're going to start off with those layers, and we're going to be working on his armor first. Now the color we're going to be making is a roughly 2 parts Altdorf Guard Blue to 1 part Macragge Blue mix. And we're going to be applying this over the top of all of his armor. And we're going to be avoiding any of the dark recesses. Where we've got that really nice shading. So with that now done, you should have this lovely clean smooth blue armor all over now. And well, what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight it, and the color we're going to be using for this is Calgar Blue. And what we're going to do is just going to start picking out all of the edges. Around all the armor. Now there aren't a ton of these, because most of it's taken up with trim. However, what you can do is you can create some additional light spots. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a second. So what you can do, for example, across the top of the foot, you can follow the curve of the foot like this to create a little bit more structure. There's a little bit of fluff there. Just need to discard that. There we go. Just like that sort of thing. Similarly, we can use this to kind of do a little bit of relayering some of the most bright spots. So for example, just here on the leg, can add a little bit of the Calgar Blue like that. Could do the same thing on his chest plate. Just like this sort of thing. So with that done, just to finish off all of the blue armour, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Fenrisian Grey. I'm going to use this on the sharpest points of all of his blue armour. So with that Fenrisian Grey all applied, all of the blue armour is now finished and it looks pretty cool. However, we're now going to move on to the next colour, and that's going to be all of the gold. Now the colour we're going to be using first here is Retributor Armour, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be relayering this over the large bits of gold. We don't need to really do this on any of the trim because it's all quite small and fiddly. We're going to be doing a highlight on that a little bit later. But for now, we're just going to get this over the top of areas such as these wings on his backpack, the eagle head on his backpack as well, and over the top of his right shoulder pad. So with that little bit of Retributor Armour brightness reintroduced to the model, what we're going to do now is going to add a highlight to all of the gold. And the colour we're going to be using is a roughly 2-part Stormhost Silver to 1-part Retributor Armour mix. And well, this is going to take a while. So do just take your time, move your way around the model, take it a section at a time. I'm just going to start here on this knee because it was the closest thing to my eyeline. And if you do make any mistakes on the blue, you can just go back and use Calgar Blue to sort it out, or our Macragge Blue and Altdorf Guard mix. So with that done, as you can see, the gold has taken a massive leap forward, and so has the model. It just really kind of brings it to life. So if you were worried, worry no more. So what we're going to do is move on for now, and we're going to take some Reikland Fleshshade, not very much of this at all, and we're going to use this to add a little bit of extra shading into his face. Just like that. And I'm going to use the Reikland Fleshshade over the top of, it's way too heavy, over the top of the Purity Seals. Just like that. Well, not just like that, because I was way too heavy. More like this. So whilst we're waiting for that Reikland Fleshshade to dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Moot Green. Use this to highlight the laurel. And with that Moot Green applied, we're now going to take some Flayed One Flesh. I'm going to use this to highlight his skin. And so with that now done, we're then going to take a tiny little amount of Pallid Witch Flesh. I'm just going to apply this to the sharpest points on his face. Like that. And I'm going to use this to highlight all the parchment. So with that Pallid Witch Flesh all applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take a tiny amount of Black Legion. I'm going to apply this over the top of Guilliman's eyeballs. And so with that Black Legion all applied, we're then going to take the teeniest, tiniest dot of Screaming Skull. I'm going to apply this in the corners of each of his eyeballs. Just like that sort of thing. So with that done, the face is now finished. So what we can do is move on to our burgundy, and the colour we're going to be using to highlight these is Pink Horror. So with that Pink Horror applied, we're then going to take some Dawnstone I'm going to use this to highlight the black details. So with that Dawnstone all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down white scar. I'm going to use this to highlight our white details. So with that white scar all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Breaker. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the silver. So with that all done, it is now time to work on that sword blade. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 1-to-1 mix of Contrast Medium and Iyanden Yellow. And we're going to apply this all over the top of the blade. Like this. And over the top of the flames. Just like that. So with that Iyanden Yellow and Contrast Medium mix applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take a roughly 3 parts Contrast Medium to 1 part Gryph-Hound Orange mix, and we're going to do a sort of slightly kind of blendy thing going on. So we're going to take a really small amount of this on our brush. We're going to apply this over the kind of top third of the blade down to around about there. We're then going to wash the brush. We're then going to smooth out the transition here. By just feathering away at where the two colours meet. And I'm going to kind of create a little bit of a line going diagonally across the blade. Like that sort of thing. And then we're going to do pretty much the same thing, but towards the base of the blade. Only we're going to be coming up this side and a little bit on this side. So we're going to take that mix on our brush. I'm going to apply the Gryph-Hound Orange like this up to the top of that power node. I'm going to bring it down so it kind of goes over the top of that power node. Like that. We're going to wash the brush. And we're going to smooth out the transition once more. Just there like that. And then, in between each of our kind of little tendrils of flame, we're going to add another kind of little blended section. So we're going to add a tiny little bit of Gryph-Hound Orange just here. Like that. Wash the brush. Then smooth it out. And then we're going to do one more just around here. Wash the brush. And then smooth it out like that. So you should have these 1, 2, 3 little lines going across. And then all that's left to do is on the biggest flames, so we've got this one here and this one here, we're going to add the same mix again. We're just going to apply it over the top. So with that done, we're then going to do it again, only with this time we're going to be concentrating towards the top of the blade and towards the bottom of the blade. So again, roughly 2 parts contrast medium to 1 part Gryph-Hound Orange. I'm going to start down here. We're just looking to make that orange nice and intense towards the base of the blade. And towards the top. I'm going to wash the brush. I'm going to smooth out that transition. So with that then done, we're going to make a roughly 4 parts contrast medium to 2 parts Gryph-Hound Orange to 1 part Blood Angels Red. And we're going to use this towards the base of the blade and towards the tips of the flames, because the top of the blade is fine. So we're going to apply this like this, coming again up over the top of the power nodes, like that. Then I'm going to wash the brush. And I'm going to feather off that transition like that. And then on the tips of the flames, we're going to add some as well. And so with that now done, we're then going to take a tiny little bit of Blood Angels Red just on its own, and towards the very base of the blade, we're going to add this. Like that. Wash the brush one more time. And then just get in there and give it a little bit of a blend. And so with that then done, we're going to take a tiny amount of black Templar, and just around the base of the nodules, the power cables, we want to add a little bit of this. Like that. And you want to make sure you kind of overlap it on the into the recess of the blade itself. And I'm going to take a teeny tiny little bit. I'm going to add it to the tips. Of the flames. So with that done, the sword's looking pretty cool. So what we're going to do now is going to add some highlights. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Flesh Yellow. We're going to use this to highlight all of the edges along the blade. And we're going to use this to highlight the power nodes as well. And you want to take this all the way down, even over the top of the Black Templar. And we're going to highlight all the fire as well. Like that sort of thing. And then I'm going to very carefully, in the midst of our little areas where we've done our blending, I'm going to draw little diagonal lines, carrying on from where our flame tips meet the flat of the blade. And so with all those Flesh Yellow highlights applied on both sides, as you can see, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some Screaming Skull. I'm going to apply this to the sharpest points and the areas of hottest, whitest fire. So for example, we're going to apply the Screaming Skull coming down the tip of the sword. Like that. And apply this on the other side as well. Like so. And then we're going to bring it down roughly the same distance along the tang of the blade. We're going to apply this to the diodes. Like so, and then we're going to take it down around about a third. Like that. We're then going to apply this to the tips of the flames, where they kind of intersect with each other, and on the blade itself, when we've got those little lines, add a little tiny amount, about half of it, coming down the same line. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to stick with Screaming Skull. Only what we're going to do now is we're going to thin it down with sort of 5, 6, 7 parts water, so it's really, really thin. You can see there on my brush. And what we want to do is we essentially, over the top of these kind of lines that we've done here, is we're going to add a very thin little glaze that goes over the top of them. We're going to go like this in the same direction. Like that. And we're going to wash the brush, and then with a clean brush we're essentially going to wipe most of it off like that. We're going to do this twice just to really ensure that we've got this kind of bit of a soft glow going around. Those lines that we've got that nice hard highlight line going across. Wash the brush. And then we pull most of it off like that. And so with that now done, just to finish off the sword blade, we're then going to take some Casandora Yellow. We don't need loads here, and what we're going to do is we're going to apply this over the top of the entire blade. Just like this. And so with that done, the sword blade is now finished, and it looks absolutely fantastic, even if I do say so myself. So there's only one last thing left to do on Guilliman himself before we approach the base. And yes, I'm missing a torch. I accidentally pinged it off, and we'll glue it back on. But what we are going to do is we're going to take some Blood Angels Red. We're just going to apply this over the top of all of his gems. You'll forgive me, but there is one more thing I completely forgot about it. We do have all of the parchment to add some text to. And, well, we're going to add some tiny little lines using some Cygor Brown over the top of all of his little purity seals. You don't need very much here at all. Just like that sort of thing. What we also need to do is write something down here, and on the box art it says Ultra, in case you forgot. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw that in, and we're going to continue with this Cygor Brown. And because Ultra is a 5-letter word, what we can do is we can start in the middle with the T. Hopefully the middle is marked out for us. Our little eagle holding up the black parchment. And that tells us how much space we've got on either side to do the R and the A and the U and the L. Like that. And then what we can do to make it a little bit more fancy is we can take a tiny amount of Cygor Brown, and then next to our lines we can add additional lines. And just join them up. So with that, Roboute Guilliman is now finished, and I think he looks absolutely fantastic. So we're now going to move on to his base, and the colour we're going to be using first is Cygor Brown, and we're going to be applying this over the top of all of the soil scattered around the model. So with that Cygor Brown all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Dawnstone. I'm going to apply this over the top of all of the rock. So with all that Dawnstone applied, we're then going to work on the flames of the braziers, and the three colours I should say that we're going to be using are Iyanden Yellow, Blood Angels Red and Black Templar. And what we're going to do is we're going to load up our brush with the Iyanden Yellow, and we're going to apply this over the top of all of the flames. Like that. I'm then going to wash the brush, grab a little bit of Blood Angels Red, apply this over the top, like so. Wash the brush, grab a little bit of Black Templar, and apply this towards the tips of the flames, like so. Wash the brush one more time, and then grab a little bit more Iyanden Yellow and use this to kind of just move those colours around. So with that now done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion. I'm going to apply this over the top of the Black Legionary down here on his base. He's having a really bad day. So with that now done, we're then going to take some Skeleton Horde. I'm going to apply this over top of all of the skulls and bones. So that Skeleton Horde all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. We're going to apply this over the top of all of the trim on our Black Legionary, as well as all the little spare bullet casings and things scattered around the model. And so with that now done, we're going to take some Blood Angels Red. I'm going to apply this over the gem, just there in the middle of the Space Marine's chest, and over the top of the cable running around its head. With that Blood Angels Red all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. I'm going to apply this over the top of, well, pretty much all of the remaining details. So with that done, it's time to add some shades to the base. And we're going to start with Targor Rageshade. I'm going to apply this over the top of all the stone. And with that Targor Rageshade all applied, we're then going to take Agrax Earthshade. I'm going to apply this over the top of the gold and silver. And what we're also going to do with the Agrax Earthshade is on our eagle head mostly. What we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of this into those kind of bits of damage. And so with that done, we're now going to take some Stirland Battlemire and we're going to apply this over the top of all of the negative space around his base. Now it is a slightly different colour to our Cygor Brown, but don't worry, we'll soon fix that. So So all that Stirland Battlemire now on and dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Tyrant Skull and we're going to dry brush this over the top of the entire base. And so with that done, just to make the marine on the base pop a little bit, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Liberator Gold. I'm going to use this to highlight all of the gold. And with that done, I'm then going to take a tiny little bit of Fire Dragon Bright. I'm going to apply this over the little line over the top of the Marine's eye lenses. Like that. And you need to add just a little highlight on the red gem as well. So with that done, the painting is, well, all finished apart from the rim of the base, but we're going to add some tufts. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take some, well, in this case I've got mixed green 6mm tufts from Gamer's Grass, and I'm going to use my scissors to create some really small little ones. So I'm just going to peel off this one here, I think. There we go, it's a nice long one, you see that? And what we're going to do is going to use the scissors to just cut a really diddy little piece, because I don't have any kind of really tiny tufts. You can just buy little tiny tufts, but I'm just going to use this to cut these ones, and I'm just going to stick them in. I'm going to go all the way around the base, including in and around the sculpted detail, because that's one of those things where I never used to do that, but it adds quite a lot to these large scenic bases by doing so. And that's how you can add a little bit more colour back into the model. That's how you can make your tufts go really rather far. And so with all those tufts applied, the last thing to do is to paint in the rim of the base, and I'm just going to use some thinned down Abaddon Black, and I'm doing 2 layers of this here. You can of course do this any colour that you want to match the rest of your army. And so with the rim of the base now done, Guilliman is finished. And it's been a long time coming to the channel. I did paint one when it first came out a long time ago, and I'll see if I can dig it out of whatever hole it's hiding in to do a side-by-side, because this one's a million times better. Then again, I have had quite a few years of practice since then, but I'm really pleased with it. I think he looks amazing, and that sword is absolute chef's kiss. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so. Head to patreon.com/warhipster, just like these bosses have done, scrolling up on the screen before you, whose continued support helps me continue to make all the wonderful content that you enjoy. Alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button on the channel page or just below this video, like these wonderful amazing people have done. And if you really like this video and you just want to shoot me a little thanks, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.